Hey, this is OXDF. Today we're doing day 2 of the Advent of Code 2023, Cube Conundrum. Let's take a look. So there's a bunch of story stuff here, but the real meat of this comes down to is there's an elf carrying a bag, and they're going to reach in and pull out, a game is when they reach in and pull out a handful of cubes, show them to you, reach in, pull out a handful of cubes, show them to you, putting them back each time, pulling them out fresh. The cubes are colored, so you can see like in game 1 here, we pull out 3 blue, then 4 red, 3 blue and 4 red. Then the next pull is 1 red, 2 green, then 2 blue, 2 green. The question is, the bag really only has 12 red, 13 green, and 14 blue cubes in it. So how many of these games are valid? And so for example, game 3 here is not valid because at one point you pull out 20 reds and there can't be 20 reds in the bag. So I need to loop over all the games, figure out which ones are valid, and then sum up the IDs of all the valid ones to get the result I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and jump in. I've got my genday script here, which is just my script that pulls the input and creates a stub for me. I went over it in the first day video. You can check that out in more detail if you want. I've got we'll start here, I guess, with input. We've got the lines are a little bit longer, maybe more pulls, but nothing too exciting to pay attention to here. We could do some grepping to figure out the colors, if there's any colors besides red, blue, and green in here. I'm just going to assume there might be and not worry about it. I don't think it's going to screw me up yet. Let's see, there's 100 lines, so that's fine. Go ahead and take a look here. First thing I want to do is create myself a target. So we're going to say target. Let's see. We're going to do from collections import default dict. And we can say target equals default dict of ints. And we're going to start with red. I already forgot the numbers. We'll come back in a second. Blue, green. Okay, and what were they? 13 red, 12 red, 13 green, 14 blue. A little bit out of order, but that's fine. 14, 13. Okay, so now I have this target, and I can query it for any color, and I'm going to get 12 for red, 14 for blue, and 13 for green, or 0 for anything else, because it's default dict. And that's going to be, I think that'll be helpful. We might not need it, I don't know. Okay, so we're going to read in our lines. I'm going to go ahead and do L dot strip for L in read lines. I don't know if I need that in read lines, but do I need that? Let's say we don't for a second. We'll do our normal watch out for white space. Part 1 is going to be equal to 0. We're going to start off with 0. We're looking for a sum, right? So we can do for line in line. Loop over our lines. What do we need to do? We better grab one of our game IDs to take a look. Let's see. We'll put this. We just make a comment here. So for line in line, the first thing we want to do is get this stuff separated from the game ID. We can say game string, comma, pull string equals line dot split on colon space. Give us that. We can say game ID is equal to game string dot split on space. And we're going to take the last one and we're going to convert that to an int like that. Now we're going to do we have a pull string. So we'll do for pull in pull string dot split. And now we're splitting on semicolon space. So this right here to get the cubes in one pull. Now we need to split this on comma space to get the cube number in color. So we'll say for color in pull.split comma space. Now we're gonna have color string, which is gonna be this. We should probably call this color string, which will be 3 blue, for example. So now we want to have num string comma color equals color string dot split on space. So now we're going to have a number string and a color. We can say num equals int num string. And we can then say, so now what are we doing here? We've parsed all this down. We got this. What are we checking? We're going to say, we want to check if it's valid. So we're going to start at the beginning of the game. For once we get the game ID, we'll say game valid equals true. it's true until we prove it not true, right? Now we can say if target of color is less than num. So if we've got more than we're supposed to have in the target, then valid becomes false. And we could break here. I'm just going to leave it for now. And so then we're going to do that over all of our things. And at the end here, we'll say if, not valid, game valid. And we'll say if game valid, then we're going to say part1 plus equals game ID. And that actually might be all we need. Let's run this. Python day2 example. Let me grab the example because it's always good to test on your example data first. We could just go straight to the, if we're going for speed, we certainly would go straight to the puzzle input here. But because we've got this, let's make sure we include a new line on the end just to make sure. Example.text, 0. That's not what we're looking for. So let's figure out what's going on here. Let's say print. Let's do. We're getting false. We shouldn't get false any times on the first game. So let's go ahead and put a breakpoint here and run this again. I could set up VS Code to handle this as well. I probably should do that at some point. So let's see what we got. Our pull is green up. So the new lines are biting us, I bet. So our color is that. Yep. And so when we do target of color, we get nothing. If we do target of color dot strip, we're getting 13. So we're getting our thing. Let's just strip the things up here. So we'll do L for L dot strip for L in. You know, we saw this coming, didn't we? Get rid of that. Quit. Run 8. That is what we were looking for. Let's look at input 2913. Boom. Awesome. Okay. Part 2. I'm going to pause and read this, and I'll come back in a second. Okay. This seems pretty easy, actually. So basically, now we're ignoring the previous. It's completely different than the previous one. We're going to need to parse the game the same way, but this time we're trying to collect the power of each in each game, and the power is the minimum number of cubes required to play the game. So for example, here I have 3 blue, no blue, and 6 blue and no blue. So I need 6 blues. I have 4 red, 1 red, and no red. So I need 4 reds, and I've got 2 greens and 2 greens. So I'm going to have 6 times 4 times 2 is 24 is 48. Is that right? Yep, 48. So that's what I need to do. We can keep our parsing very similar here. So we're going to not get rid of that. We'll say part 2 equals 0 because we're also doing a sum. Let's rename you to P1 game valid. And we're going to just over here, we're going to do P2 for each game, for each line, we're going to need to have a set of the things. So we're going to say P2 set equals default dict of ints. So now we're going to start off with like, hey, we have 0 of every color. And now when we get down here, after we parse, we're going to say P2 set of color is equal to max of P2 set color, comma num. So for each time we parse a number and a cube, we're just going to get the maximum of what we already have, which will be 0 at the start and then eventually numbers. And then down here, we will say part 2 plus equals, and now we need to do a product. And products are always tricky in Python. Like you can just do sum to sum up a list of things. I've been liking to use reduce. So we'll do from functools import reduce. And basically what you do with reduce is you give it a lambda that takes the input and the current value, and we're just going to multiply them together. So it keeps like an accumulator basically. And then we're just going to pass in P2 set dot values. That'll give us the numbers. And we just want to do that. We want to do that. I'm not exactly sure what the last one is. I think you just always put a 1 here. Oh, the initial value. Yeah. So basically what we're going to say is we're passing in 1 is the starting value, and then we're going to take the values and multiply the first value times 1 and store that in the accumulator. And then we're going to take the second value times, and we're just going to keep doing that over and over again until we get a result. So let's run this. 2,286 is the target, so we are in good shape there. We got an answer. Sweet. Cool, that was a fun day. I don't think I have anything summarized, so thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.